how to find the percentage of an amount. First up, the decimal method when we have a calculator. We'll follow these two steps. So, calculate 75% of 60. Step 1. Convert the percentage to a decimal by dividing by 100. So 75%, 75 divided by 100 is 0.75. Step 2, multiply the decimal by the amount. Now the word of means we multiply. So we multiply by 60 and we get 45. Now we consider two methods that you would use if you were not allowed a calculator in your test. First up, the fraction method. We'll follow these two steps. Step 1, convert the percentage into a fraction. So the question says calculate 75% of 60. 75% as a fraction is 3/4. Step 2, multiply the fraction by the amount. The word of, we multiply. So we multiply by 60. 60 as a fraction is 60 over 1. Now, multiplying fractions, we look for cross-cancelling. We have the 4 and the 60. We can divide both of those by 4. 60 divided by 4 is 15. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Top times the top is 45. The bottom times the bottom is 1. And 45 divided by 1 is 45. Next, non-calculator method, 10% method. We'll follow these two steps. Step 1, find 10% of the amount by dividing by 10. 10% of 60 would equal 6. We just divide 60 by 10. 70% of 60. We are scaling up. How do I get from 10% to 70%? I multiply by 7. So we previously had 6, which was 10%. We're scaling up by multiplying by 7, 42. And we need 5% of 60. 5% is half of 10%. That means this value will be half of 6. What is half of 6? 3. And lastly, 70% plus 5% will give me 75%. To get that 75% of 60, I would add my 42 and my 3. And those added together give me 45. Some more examples. First, let's look at the decimal method with a calculator. And we follow these two steps. First, 25% becomes 0.25. We multiply by 48. Punch that into the calculator and we get 12. Next up, our fraction method without a calculator. We follow these two steps. 25% as a fraction, that would be 1/4. We multiply. 48 is a fraction, 48 over 1. When we multiply fractions, we look for cross-cancelling. 4 and the 48. What is the common factor? It is 4. Divide by 4 is 1. Divide by 4 is 12. We multiply top times top and we get 12 on the top. And we multiply bottom times bottom and we get 1 on the bottom. 12 divided by 1 is 12. Last example, 10% method. 10% of 48. We divide 48 by 10 and we get 4.8. 20% of 48. What did I do to go from 10 to 20? I multiplied by 2. So that means my 4.8, I also multiplied by 2. And that gives me 9.6. 5% of 48. The 5% value will be half of the 10% value. So a half of 4.8 would be 2.4. Now, 20% plus 5% is 25%. So we must add our 9.6 and our 2.4. We add those together and we get 12. Progress check. Have a go yourself, then check your answers with mine. So first, calculating 50% of $60. Using a calculator, we would have 0.5 multiplied by 60, and that would give us 30. No calculator, using the fraction method. 50% is 50 over 100. We can simplify 50 over 100 to 1 over 2. So now we multiply the fractions. A half of 60. Cross cancelling, we can divide the 2 and the 60 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 60 divided by 2 is 30. Top multiplied by top is 30. Bottom multiplied by bottom is 1. 30 over 1 is 30. Next, the 10% method. 10% of 60 is 6. 50% of 60 is, so 10% we scaled up by multiplying by 5, so we have to multiply the 6 by 5 and we get 30. Next question, middle row, 15% of 80. Using our calculators, we can go 0.15 multiplied by 80. That would give us 12. Next, the fraction method, 15% is 15 over 100. We can simplify that. We divide by 5 and we divide by 5. On the top, that would be 3. On the bottom, 20. So we need to find 3/20 of 80, which is 80 over 1. Cross cancelling, 20 and 80 can both be divided by 20, which is 1, divided by 20, which is 4. Top times top will give us 12. Bottom times bottom will give us 1. And 12 over 1 is 12. Next, the 10% method. 10% of 80 is 8. 5% of 80 is, we divide by 2. And so the 8 will also be divided by 2. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now we need 15% of 80. So to get to 15%, we added 10% and 5%. What that means is we need to add 8 and 4, and that will give us 12. Last row, 37.5% of 160. Divide 37.5 on our calculator by 100, and we get 0.375 as a decimal. Of, we multiply 160, and that will give us 60. Next, the fraction method without a calculator. So 37.5%. Now we don't like that decimal. Let's multiply by 2 and multiply by 2. The top we'll get 75. Our denominator we get 200. And we can simplify. 25 goes into both of those. So we divide by 25, divide by 25. Top we get 3, and on the bottom we get 8. 3/8 of 160 over 1. We look for cross cancelling. The 8 and the 160 both can be divided by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 160 divided by 8 is 20. Top times top will give us 60. Bottom times bottom will give us 1 on the bottom. And 60 over 1 is 60. Last question. Use the 10% method. So 10% of 160 is 16. Next, to get 30% of 160, how did we scale up? We multiplied by 3. So we multiply 16 by 3 and we get 48. Then we need 5% of 160. Now 5% is half of 10%. And 10% was 16. So what is half of 16? It is 8. And we also need 2.5% of 160. 2.5% is half of 5%. So what is half of 8? That would be 4. Now 37.5% is 30% plus 5% plus 2.5%. So that means we'll need to add all of these yellow values on the right-hand side. We have, and that will give us a total of 60. And boom, we have our final answer. Hey guys, this is Casey at Onetree. If you like the content, please remember to like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like some online tutoring, please email me at onetreemath@gmail.com. Cheers.